We're about to see how this church gets moved from here to here. I'm in Kiruna in Sweden, a town of just over 17,000 people that's about 140 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. In fact, it's so far north that for almost 2 whole months in the summer, the sun doesn't set at all. Now, this town pretty much exists because of the world's largest underground iron ore mine that's located here. A mine that for over a century now has been a driving force of Sweden's economy, with iron ore currently Sweden's second largest export. Now, as the mine continues to expand, there's a risk that the ground beneath some of the original parts of town becomes unstable, and so Kiruna doesn't have much of a choice. It has to move. But how on earth do you move a town? Well, some buildings will be demolished and rebuilt elsewhere. Others, like the church, require a different and, to be frank, wholly audacious type of solution, the likes of which I've never witnessed before. And it feels like I'm not alone in that. This is very much the calm before the storm right now. Although I say the storm, this is so well planned and thought about over a very long period of time. The execution is just the cherry on the cake, it feels. And you can see the crowds that have started to build up for this. I mean, we've seen many Mammoet jobs that get the attention of the public, but I've never seen quite as many cameras from the world's press come along. So it looks like the only 2 people who didn't get the memo about PPE, high vis, safety boots, and the hard hat is the bishop and the vicar. I'm not going to tell them.
Now that the church had been blessed, there was no turning back. The operation could begin.
Just started to hear the engines on the SPMTs rev up a little bit more. I think I can see movement. We've got a little bit of movement on the wheels. We're moving. So we've done the first big turn, and now we can really start moving along. But because the church is so much wider than the road normally is, all of this temporary road surface has had to be laid here with all this larger and smaller aggregate. And that's not just here, that is along the majority of the route, all the way around to the other end of town. There's so much work and planning gone into this move. What might look like a bit of street detritus that's just been left in the way is actually a lamppost. And it's been taken out as part of the preparations for the route. It's not the only one. There have been lampposts taken down, trees that have had to come down. This route needs to have been cleared to make sure that there's easy passage for the church to come through. This is one of the trickiest parts of the whole route because it's downhill, this downwards gradient, which is why you've got guys with measuring tapes. They're checking the difference in height at the rear to the front of the church to make sure that it's not on too much of a slope. They've calculated that for the structural integrity of the church, there's a maximum of 2.9 degrees of slope at any point. And I've just heard that at this point here, on the biggest part of downhill, it's at 2.2 degrees slope, so everything's okay. And if they get through here okay, the rest of the route is plain sailing, so to speak. Because the church has come to a stop for lunch, because even a church needs a lunch break, there's an opportunity to come and have a look inside. Come on. There are experts here to make sure that the fresco that's painted onto that back stone wall there isn't put under undue stress or strain during the move of the church. It's a key part of the specification for these operations. That fresco needs to reach its final destination undamaged. Another technical factor that's been taken into account for the calculations and the planning of this move is the distribution of the weight, because you've got the weight of the church, yes, but then you also have the weight of these huge steel beams that run across and of the SPMTs themselves. So they need to make sure that the ground is solid enough to take all of that weight. And so far, so good. The asphalt road surface is holding up nicely. The temporary road extension is holding up nicely as well. But that's when the church is moving in a straight line. When it comes to a corner, it's a different matter. As the wheels turn, coming into this bend along the route, the tyres dig into the ground, and there's a risk that that ground then could become disrupted, could become unstable in certain cases, which is partly why you've got these steel plates along here on this bend. They're also to help distribute the weight across this gravel surface. It's a bit like when you turn the steering wheel in your car, when it's not moving, you can hear those tyres on the road below. Here enough, I do it with my foot as well now. Just turning, it digs it all up. They want to avoid that as much as possible. Well, that's it for today. The church has reached its scheduled resting point for the end of day one, so it will stay here overnight. And everyone seems very happy with how the operation's gone on today. So bring on day two.
After a successful first half of its journey, the relocation of Kiruna Church continues today. The mission is clear. By the end of the day, the church should reach its new home. A historic moment for the city, engineering at its very best, working to preserve the heritage of this community. And if that wasn't special enough, today we also welcomed a distinguished visitor.
So suddenly the attention of the world's press has moved away from the church, just here, to the arrival of the King of Sweden, who's come to check out proceedings. This is obviously such a huge event for Sweden that is being shown all around the world. So it's important that he comes to show his interest, but I guess also because I know he has an interest in science and technology and engineering. Part of me knows that he is as intrigued as everybody else in the world to come and see the show here.
You may have noticed there's quite a crowd following the church as it rolls through town. There's a palpable sense of excitement and awe. But who are these people? And what draws them to stand out here in the cold for so long and with such devotion? I'm genuinely curious to find out where this connection to their church comes from.
So what brings you out to follow the church as it goes through Kiruna?
Yeah, it's I follow the church because it's an important moment in the move of the entire town.
Do you have any personal memories or moments that you've spent at the church?
Yes, I was baptized. I'm married in that church 2 years ago, and it's always been with me. It's one of those buildings that just it connects to your heart, and seeing it moved with this grace and care that Mammoet is doing is awesome.
How do you feel about your church being moved across town?
Well, it's a strange feeling. When I first moved to Kiruna, I lived just next to the church, and it's really always been up on that hill, so it felt very strange for it to just not be there in the same spot anymore.
Is it important that the church was preserved in the moving of Kiruna as a town?
I think it has a very big, like, symbolic value, and it's a very important landmark in Kiruna.
Do you have personal experiences and personal memories with the church, with the building?
Yeah, I'm baptized and I'm confirmed, yes, and I have married in Kiruna Church. Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty great combination.
Yeah. And it's exciting to see that it's moving.
The church is making its last few turns towards where it's going to be settled down for the next who knows how many decades or centuries. And it is a massive draw. Just look at these crowds coming out to watch their church being moved to the new place where they're going to have to get used to it within the community, within the town. Right underneath the church, right in the middle of this jig between the two SPMTs, there's a laser system that's mounted. That laser system is constantly taking readings from the front left corner, front right corner, the rear left and rear right corner to check that the distance between those 4 points is maintained as much as can possibly be, which is difficult when you consider the length of the SPMTs and the distance between them. Because what is most crucial about this project is making sure that there's no twisting forces on the timbers of the church so that it doesn't fall apart.
And that elegant pirouette positions the church in today's final location. The engines of the SPMTs have all been powered down. And so it's a perfect moment to catch up with Kees, the project supervisor, to ask how the past 2 days have been for him.
Kees, first of all, congratulations on a job very well done. The church is here where it's meant to be, right?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's really nice to stand with the church where its final destination should be coming.
So let me ask you, what was your role on this particular job?
I'm one of the supervisors, we took care of the transport, navigating this church through the city of Kiruna.
Okay, and how big is the team of Mammoet engineers here?
The team, I think, all in all, we're with 8 guys, project manager and engineer, and then we have our operational team.
And to reflect on the job, how has that gone for you? How did it go? Were there any particular challenges?
Challenges in terms of height elevations, so sometimes minimum and maximum stroke, sharp turns where we have, let's say, not much clearance to the left and right position, so there were some challenges.
I could see it. There were certain points where it was pretty close. I mean, not that close, but exactly. Close enough. Were you aware throughout those proceedings of the delicacy of the church, if you like, because of its construction in timber?
Yeah. And most of the time we are removing steel structures, so this is completely different. We had a monitoring system on our trailers to minimize the deflections. There's a monitoring system inside the church, and both of them combined gave us a minimum and maximum where we had to operate in. So, yeah.
And you were able to execute that within those tolerances, were you? Within the minimum and maximum?
Exactly.
And what about for you personally, Kees? Yeah. What has this job meant to you?
Yeah, it's a lot of media attention, of course. So all the people at home, they also say, hey, we see this on television, and I think they're all proud, and it's really cool to be part of it.
Well, that's pretty much it. The majority of this job is now complete. All that remains tomorrow is for the church to be wheeled over the top of and set down onto the concrete foundations that have been prepared, where it will remain indefinitely. And in some ways, this job is like any other for Mammoet, moving a load from point A to point B. But in many ways, it feels like this is a unique job because of the significance of this particular load to the local community. And what's impressed me the most is that despite the scrutiny of the local community, who have been out in their thousands along the entirety of the journey, the Mammoet team have remained professional, calm, and totally focused on the job at hand. And you know what?
I think that's something that the people of Kiruna massively appreciate.